Well, welcome to the October Garden Calendar. We have quite a program in store for you today. We're going to cover several different gardening chores for the month of October. We'll harvest some sweet potatoes, talk about some things to plant in the garden. We'll also look at planting bulbs, spring flowering bulbs in the fall for the yard, or forcing them for indoor use in the wintertime. Also talk about planting trees and shrubs in the month of October, things in flower, just some general garden chores. We'll also visit Gringo Orchard with Gary Morrell and learn some very interesting things of different fruit trees he has planted. Okay, well, here in the month of October, there are still some flowers in bloom. There's asters, some goldenrods, mums, but then there's a lot of colorful berries that are in bloom this month. One of my favorite berries in the month of October is the American Beauty Berry, which is behind me. It's a gorgeous purple berry all over the plant. Also, a lot of some plants that have some other berries that are pretty in October are some of the hollies, Nandina, Pyracantha, Washington hawthorn, and others. So still some beautiful sights out there in the month of October for your eye to behold. Well, as far as the garden goes in the month of October, still a few things out there in the garden that you need to harvest or pick before frost comes. Once frost comes, about everything will be killed back here. Still got some peppers coming on, some sweet potatoes, some herbs, a few things like that. So go out there. Your sweet potatoes do need to be dug before first frost. It's best for them for you to do that then. Also, here we are in the month of October. You can still plant a few things. Some of the colder crops, kale, Swiss chard, maybe cabbage, onions, garlic. A few of those colder season crops can still be planted early in October. So we can do that. And and if you've got an irrigation system like I do here in my raised bed, I'll pull it up and take it inside. So do all the preparations for winter. So it's a good time to do that. So we're going to go ahead and watch me pull some of the vines up on one of these hills of sweet potatoes and dig some of those. Well, also, October is the month for planting bulbs. If you want to have some spring blooming bulbs, you can buy things such as hyacinths, tulips, crocuses, daffodils. All of those really need to be planted in the month of October. So get out there. You can use a bulb planting tool like that and plant them in your yard. Also, something a lot of people do not think of is forcing bulbs, and you usually have those kind of drab months of winter in January and February where you don't have much color after the holidays. So you can force bulbs, which is by planting them in some of your unused pots with just regular potting soil. You can just plant them. There are some guidelines on how far to space them or how many to put in a certain size container. Just contact us at the extension office. We'll get you a little publication on that. But you can usually get about 3 hyacinths in a pot about that size, and put them slightly below the surface of the soil, water them good, and then put them under your house, basically in a cool place with low light, and they will just the roots will grow. They'll establish a good rooting system in the pots. Roughly 12 weeks they need to be dormant, and then you can bring them out of that cool spot into your house in January, and then the shoots will start to grow. After about 2 weeks you will get your flowers, so you'll have some good color in the house in the months of January and February. So that's something I always do. I always force some bulbs have good success with tulips, hyacinths, and crocus do okay. So those are the ones I usually do. So I'm going to plant a few hyacinths here in the pot, but you can do crocus, tulips, and several other bulbs. So it's easy. Just plant them, water them good, stick them under the house. Okay, once your bulbs that you're foisting are potted up, all you do is water them and then just stick them under your house. Another chore for the month of October is to dig up some of your summer flowering bulbs that quite often will not last our winters. Some of those might be things like caladium, dahlia, canna, gladiolus, and some of the elephant ears. So the month of October, get out there, dig up those tubers or divisions, and store them. I usually put them in a bag of dry sawdust or dry peat or something like that, and just store them under the house over the winter. So get those dug up this month as well. Well, the month of October is really the prime or ideal month of the year to plant containerized plants, trees, perennials, vines. This is a trumpet vine that I've had a small start, but I've got it going pretty well in a pot over the summer. I think we've got a crepe myrtle and a dawn redwood. So anything like that, or any perennials that you have as well, October is a great month to dig the correct hole. Be sure to always plant them at the normal level, if not just a little higher, because they will sink, but do not plant them below soil level. But in the month of October, there's not much evaporation going on. There's usually plenty of rainfall and moisture in the soil, so get them planted all winter long. The roots will do some growing, and they'll be ready to get a full season's growth next year. So October, best month of the year to plant trees, shrubs, perennials, vines, that type of thing. Okay, here we are in the October garden calendar, and we're here on site at Gringo Orchards, and we're here with Gary Morrell. And Gary, just tell us a little bit about what's going on this time of year, and tell us what you've got planned and what your different varieties of things are here in the orchard.
Okay, well, being October, there's not much coming off right now except for, well, these will be a little later, Oriental persimmons. I'm picking Fuji apples. Most of my varieties have finished up. Pink Lady's coming on later in the month. The Oriental persimmons are interesting. There's not many of these grown around here. The Asian customers are crazy over these. They sell real well. They're just difficult to grow because of a virus that kills the trees and can't be controlled any way that I know of. Fuji's a good sweet apple. We'll check those. We'll get some film of those a little later here. Asian pears are finished for the season. Peaches and nectarines are all gone. Normally I'd still have those up till about the 1st of October, but everything's early this year. We had an early bloom. Everything bloomed real early in March, 2 to 3 weeks earlier than normal. So everything's finishing up 2 to 3 weeks earlier than normal. We might take a look at some Chinese che fruit over here that gets ripe late September and into October. Not very good, but it's quite a conversation piece. Here we have Chinese che fruit, which gets ripe late in September into October. It's a real pretty berry-looking fruit. It's related to Osage orange. Looks just like an Osage orange, except it's red and much smaller. Osage orange gets like 4 inches in diameter or more. It comes from China. Another name for it is strawberry tree. It's not bad. It is edible, but it's just not very good. It just seems like it could be better than that, and it never quite makes it. I understand even in China it's not utilized much. One interesting note, silkworms feed on mulberry leaves, and this is a substitute for mulberry leaves. It's one of the few things they can eat and survive on. It's quite thorny when it's young. Now these older, mature limbs don't have any thorns left on them. They're really nasty when they're young. Vigorous growth like that has really sharp thorns on it. Just an interesting fruit. I keep it here as a conversation piece mainly. Not bad, but not anything that anybody asks for. Okay, here we have a crop of Fuji apples. They're just getting ripe. There's here and there one that's ripe enough to pick. And without pollinators, we have no fruit. Honeybees are having a really hard time of it. We're not able to keep the numbers up. It's getting difficult to find bees to rent even. And one of the things that we're looking at is native pollinators. There have been some as the honeybees have died off. Some of the native bees have been increasing in numbers, seeming to do better, probably because of the decreased competition from honeybees. And this is one example here. These are blue orchard mason bees. They're extremely good pollinators, very efficient. It takes a lot less per acre of these than it does honeybees. The problem with native bees is they can't be controlled and moved like honeybees can. The blue orchard mason bee nests in little tubes or holes in tree trunks or posts. These have some filled tubes with pupae in them that'll come out next summer, next spring, and they'll be very efficient pollinators out here on the apples. Some of the other things, there's a little bumblebee. It looks like a half-size bumblebee that has increased dramatically since the honeybees have died off, and they're pretty good pollinators. The numbers are not as large as I'd like to see early in the season. They get built up later in the season, but that's too late for fruit tree pollination. There's some minor bees that live and nest in the ground that are real good pollinators. They've been increasing over the years, and there's some that nest in the ground in the orchard, and I've tried to be really careful about using pesticides around them when they're nesting to try to continue to let them increase. The Fuji apples we're picking now, there are a few of these ripe enough to pick. It takes probably 5 to 6 trips through these trees to get all the ripest ones at the proper stage. Fuji's not an easy apple to grow. It's susceptible to a lot of problems. This one has some probably black rot in it. Those go on the ground. I try to pick the very ripest ones and leave the rest of them for next time. Maybe a little stink bug damage on that. That goes on the ground. I just go over them fast, get the ripest ones. And I'll be back in here in 5 or 6 days picking over the ripest ones again until they're all gone. A couple of spots on that one. Not an easy apple to grow in this climate, but it's a real popular apple, very sweet apple. These trees are probably 15 years old in here now, and they're getting too vigorous, too thick. I have trees ordered that will be replacing these. I'll plant them in a different spot, and when those other trees come into production, these trees will come out. Just getting too hard to manage. And the fruit quality will probably be better on the younger trees anyway. Here we are in the Pink Lady block. In late September, these are just starting to turn a little bit red now, a little bit pink. Probably 3 more weeks to maturity on these. Coming on looking good. Still have a little size to gain yet. I've had a lot of questions about what are the easiest apples to grow around here? Which ones may be insect or disease resistant or require less spraying? My dog just picked an apple. And she's eating it, though. You know, I don't mind as long as she eats them. There are several varieties. Pink Lady is not one of the easier ones to grow. It's not terrible except for fire blight. That's a nasty disease. Pink Lady is about as susceptible to it as anything. And for that reason alone, I don't recommend to most homeowners Pink Lady. But I've got some Gold Rush, which is disease resistant. Crimson Crisp is another disease resistant apple. Both excellent quality fruit. The Gold Rush in particular is widely available. The Crimson Crisp not so much yet. It's a new apple, and it's not real big, but it's a beautiful apple. Small, solid red, very crisp, maintains its crispness, keeps real well. The Gold Rush is similar in that it's an excellent keeper. It's a yellow apple, though. The other fruits that are relatively low maintenance would be blueberries. I've got a few bushes myself, and I never spray them. Haven't had any problems with them except a few insects and deer problems. Asian pears are relatively easy to grow. They're susceptible, again, to fire blight, but if you can live with that, they don't require much spraying. Another thing that I've got here that I rarely spray is the muscadine grapes. Very low maintenance, very good fruit. Everything else requires so much spraying that most people at home just aren't going to keep them sprayed. You can see the pesticide residue on these leaves here. These trees have been sprayed almost every week all summer long. Even now, 3 weeks before harvest, I'm still having to keep some fungicides on there to avoid rot problems. Lenny, you got any questions?
No questions. Just want to thank you for letting us come up, and you're always a wealth of knowledge. And for those of you that don't know, Gary was the 2007 North Carolina Small Farmer of the Year, and we just appreciate you coming up here and sharing some of your great knowledge with us.
Well, I just have to say that if it wasn't for Bill Hanlon being an excellent nomination writer, I never would have gotten the award. But Bill Hanlon's now County Extension Director in Wilkes County.
Okay. Thanks a lot for the help today.
Sure.
Thanks. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our October garden calendar. It's always a lot of fun to put these together, and we've had some good times filming a lot of interesting things that are going on in the month of October in Alexander County. So if you have any questions about things that are covered or need some info on gardening chores or anything we've covered, give us a call at the Alexander Extension Center at 632-4451, or come see us. We're located beside the health department, the Alexander County Health Department, in the back parking lot of First Baptist Church. So come visit us, or also we're listed online at alexanderextension.com.